Old Pepper Joe's cannon beans in his bunker deep below. Had a shovel and some gasoline and a stack of crossbows. One sunny day, the skies turned dark. A shadow cast its shirt out from the clouds in a circus bark. Creeping clowns make you quiver. It's bird flu, clown zombies, aliens invade from Mars. Prepper Joe's ready in his long johns with a bunker full of jars. Yeah, it's bird flu, clown zombies, aliens. Now ain't that grand in the Ozarks? Preppers, hillbillies got a plan, man, got a plan. Joe grabbed a mask and old gas can, locked up tight his cellar door, ready himself as any good man for a funky cosmic war. The clowns marched on with red balloon, honking noses, eyes aglow. Bird flu spread from dusk till noon. Joe steeled for the show. It's bird flu, clown zombies, aliens invade from Mars. Prepper Joe's ready in his long johns with a bunker full of jars. Yeah, it's bird flu, clown zombies, aliens. Now ain't that grand in the Ozarks? Preppers, hillbillies got a plan, man, got a plan.
All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. I hope you liked that. That was the video that Praxis Prepping did for us when he was on the show, I don't know, several months back, where we were talking about aliens and UFO conspiracies and all that kind of fun stuff. So he has an awesome channel. We're friends. Make sure you check out Praxis Prepping and tell him that Prepping with Sarge sent you. I just couldn't take that StreamYard intro music that sounds like elevator music tonight, so I had to give you something different. I hope you all are having a good Friday night, and I hope we're going to have a fun stream here together. We are going to be getting a little bit political tonight, so I want to go over a couple of rules that are always kind of our standard rules here on our live stream. Number one, no sexism, no racism, okay? We don't do that here, okay? For the most part, we can do some free speech. We can disagree. But if you're going to act like a jerk, my mods have full permission to kick you out, put you in timeout, whatever. Just a couple things we don't tolerate here. Racism and sexism are two of them. Number three, if you do disagree, make your point, right? Like, don't just say you're stupid or this stream is stupid. Tell me why you disagree. Make your point why you're right and I'm wrong. I've been known to change my mind many times on many political issues. And if you just say, well, that's stupid, and you can't tell me why you think your point is right, that doesn't add anything to the conversation. And if you're really kind of a jerk about it, I'm probably just going to delete your comment. So I'd love to have your input. I'd love to have you be part of the conversation, but you got to be able to make your point and do so with a little bit of intellectual ability. Use that thinky think, as my friend Steve says. All right, so a couple last things. We got a poll at the top on the live stream. If you guys are watching it on Instagram, head on over to YouTube if you want to get in on the chat. I can't monitor both because I'm one-person operation here. Would love to have you get in on the chat. It's always really fun over on YouTube. We got a good crowd. People are usually pretty good to each other, and we get a lot of good conversations going. So vote in that poll. I know last week I forgot to get back to it at the end. I apologize. I wrote a note for myself to really try to catch it at the end. Also, the discussion question of the day, I really want to hear from y'all. And again, going back to make your point with some intellectual ability. I want to know why you think the Democratic election, Trump won 7 of 7 swing states. I'm not trying to push any politics on you. My regular audience knows I'm more moderate independent. Sometimes I think the Democrats have good ideas. Sometimes I think the Republicans have good ideas. I try to listen to both sides, and I try to vote for people who are compassionate and have integrity. Those are two qualities that I look for in a candidate. And sometimes that's hard to find with these legislators, right? Let's be honest. We're going to talk about that issue tonight. So how does this all tie into prepping? And I see everybody in comments. I'm going to get to you all in just 1 second to say hi. I appreciate everybody sharing your Friday night with me. How does this all tie into prepping? Well, we've been talking about this and building up to this for months, right? I told you that we are probably approaching a point of civil unrest, regardless of who won that election. I said this before the election. And I think we're getting closer, right? I think we're getting closer. I think there's some things that are happening that are probably going to push some of these peaceful protests into riots and violence. Okay. I really think that's coming. I think you need to be prepared for that possibility. I think you need to be thinking about the safety of your neighborhood. Make sure you're talking to your neighbors, knowing who you can communicate with. How are you guys going to protect your neighborhood if people start coming in and trying to destroy things? How are you going to protect your family? What if you have to get out of your city if you live in a city, right? Like me, I live in a city. What if you have to get out? What's your plan for that? Where are you going to go? What's your escape routes? What if escape route A is blocked off? Do you have an escape route B? Got to be thinking about this stuff, folks, because people are amping up. And if you don't believe me, go over to Twitter, because there's a lot more political discussion on Twitter. Sometimes it doesn't get shown on YouTube and Instagram, right? And Facebook. They may say that they're not censoring as much. I think they're still censoring quite a bit. TikTok, you can see this. There's a lot of vitriol and anger, and people are even calling for acts of violence. Which, by the way, if you see that, go ahead and report that. We can protest peacefully. We can, in fact, that's an American birthright. If you are a U.S. citizen, it's part of the Constitution that you have the right to free speech and you have the right to peaceful assembly. And even if I disagree with you, I'm going to support your right to protest peacefully. However, when you start causing violence, destroying property, I'm not going to condone that. And if you're calling for violence against a person, I'm going to ask my audience to report you. Okay. If you can't get your point across and argue for what you want out of this country without resorting to violence, and you're a really sad person. Okay. I get the anger. I've been angry about things that are going on in the past too. I get it. But you still can't resort to violence, right? That is the resort of somebody who doesn't know how to get their needs accomplished in other means. Okay. So those are the rules here. Everybody play by those rules. We'll have a good stream. Okay. Now let's go back and say hi to everybody up here. Let's see what we got. The followers. So I appreciate you. I just don't know how to pronounce your name. Apologize for that. Scott Hummer, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. You're one of the first people I saw in there. Coffee, it's always good to see you. Appreciate you, my friend. Rural 2, I see. Yeah, he practices music videos. So he does film. He's actually that's his background, is he makes films. So he can do stuff that I'll never be able to do in terms of like video content creation and that kind of stuff. Definitely check out his channel, and he's a good dude. And like me, he tries to keep it, somewhat politically neutral and give you both sides and be independent and moderate in his thinking and let you decide for yourself where you fall on some of these issues. So I love his channel. I definitely recommend it to anybody here. Yep. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Absolutely. David Edwards, thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Lazarus Long, appreciate you. Always good to have you here. Virginia Bushcrafter, how you doing tonight? All right. First person who answered here. Virginia Bushcrafter says, good evening, sir. One reason Trump won so handsomely is because the country chose to reinstall him for number one is mass detention of deportation of migrants. So yeah, I think a lot of people were concerned about border security, and we kind of talked about this in a different way on my stream several weeks back. Maybe it was over a month now, where we were talking about, we know for sure, this is confirmed, this is not conspiracy theory, we know for sure that Al-Qaeda has snuck people into our country with the intent to cause mayhem, and it's a sleeper cell waiting for an order. And we know that because people like CIA targeter and whistleblower Sarah Adams have told us that, and they think that number is at least 1,000 people. And we also know, because of people like Sarah Adams, that they've snuck in heavy weapons. They're planning something big. Again, this comes back to prepping, folks. I hope you're preparing. So here's the thing, not everybody who is for Oh, I'm definitely having some issues with the stream tonight. I'm sorry, guys. I don't think that's YouTube throttling me. I think there's something with my bandwidth here. Um, we need, if people are coming into this country, we need to have an idea of who they are, what their background is. That's all. And I've talked about, I fully support, if for people who have, oh man, what is going on with my stream? I fully support for people who are coming from bad situations that they want to get their family to safer situations, but we got to figure out a way to do this legally and safely. That's the thing. Okay. So we can't just jump to conclusions. This is where I think we're falling apart as a nation. We can't just jump to conclusions and say, because person believes this, they must be a racist. Because a person wants the war in Ukraine to end, they must be pro-Russia. No, that just means I'm anti-war. I want the war to end because I want people to stop dying, and I want war trauma to end. I work with people who've been affected by war trauma. I see what this does to people. We've got to end this war one way or the other. It has to end. That doesn't mean I'm pro-Russia. It doesn't mean I'm anti-Ukraine. It means I'm anti-war, right? You got it? And so there are, on the other, conversely, the other side of that, people who are pro-Ukraine aren't necessarily pro-war. Probably, yeah, there are some war hawks out there that are profiting off of this. I don't doubt that. In fact, I believe that. But the vast majority of people who are pro-Ukraine aren't pro-war. They just want to see Ukraine have freedom and be an independent nation, right? So, but we get caught up, and sometimes the media does this to us, folks. The mainstream media, they pit us against each other. A nation that's divided against each other can't stand. And when we're pitted against our neighbors, right? We've talked about this part many, many times on my stream. When we're pitted against your neighbor, if you think that those young girls with the blue hair are your enemy, or that old guy with the red hat is your enemy, you're really not seeing the big picture. You're being driven to a narrative by groups like the mainstream media that want you to stay pitted against each other. Okay. And sometimes it's politicians and sometimes it's corporations that are doing this. When you're divided against your neighbor, you don't see what all these people are doing. Right. And there's big stuff going on. We're going to talk about some of it tonight. There's criminal. Well, it's legal, but it should be criminal activities that goes on. Some of it is criminal, and sometimes people get caught, but a lot of times they don't. All right, let's keep going. Thank you for that comment, Virginia Bushcrafter. Dawn TV, how are you doing tonight? Appreciate you. Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. Appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Just came over from Instagram. All right, let's keep rolling. Increased his share of voters. Okay. Virginia Bushcrafter says, I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correctly, so if I get it wrong, correct me. Trump increased his share of voters without a college degree. So I keep hearing this in the media. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When the mainstream media says that, I find it a little offensive, and maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, but I feel like they're trying to imply that Trump voters are not as intelligent, and that's definitely not true. I have a college degree. I've met taxi drivers who are smarter than me. I've met plumbers who are smarter than me. I've met landscapers who are smarter than me. Your education is not an indication of intelligence. It just means that I put 4 years worth of work in and paid for a certain type of education to learn how to do what I do. I can't fix your plumbing. I can't fix your car. You definitely don't want me fixing your roof, and I definitely shouldn't be touching your electricity. The intelligence comes in many, many forms, and it's not okay to insinuate that somebody with a college degree is higher educated. And I personally find that offensive if that's the intent of that. And maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's certainly how it seems like they're trying to say. Yeah, I mean, I have a master's degree, big deal. I can't fix your car, right? Like, it's just a different type of intelligence. I mean, you could say I don't even know if I could say that I was book smart. I was smart at writing. I always excelled at writing papers, and I'm smart at speaking in front of groups and the class and things like that. So I could earn a lot of classroom credit, if you will, with my teachers because I was confident and strong in those areas. But All right, Virginia Bushcraft. Among first-time voters, Trump boosted his support from 32% years ago to a 54%. Yes. Why, though? Why do we think that some of those moderate and Democrat votes shifted? That's what I want you guys to ask yourselves. Why did some of the would-be Democrat votes shift to Trump? Why did some of the would-be Democrat votes stay home and not vote? People in general have become unhinged. I don't think he's responding to why people voted the way they were. Would like to see free health insurance taken away from Congress. I think we're gonna talk about that. I think we're gonna talk about that. Prepper for the Ages. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. Have to report it with Maxine Waters. Yeah, do it. If you see somebody calling for violence, I don't care if it's a legislator, a media person, or somebody on Reddit. If somebody's calling for violence, report that. It's criminal. Hey, Great and Grace, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Welcome to the channel. All right, scrolling. Okay, David Edwards says, Trump mingled with the people. Kamala, however, furthered elitism. In post-election, the BS being uncovered is furthering the huge party realignment. Okay, so I think I'm going to throw in a little bit of my opinion here. I think one of the things that hurt, let me hold my thoughts to the end. Democrats lost so badly because they circumvented the primary elections and forced Harris on their voters. Ding, ding, ding. That's part of the reason I think Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. Let me post that comment up and let's talk about this. All right. So let's rewind the tape here a little bit. People were saying back in the fall of 2023 that there was concerns about Joe Biden's mental status. And if you want to go back and check this stuff out, they started keeping him from press conferences around that time. You saw less and less of him. When you did see him, he very rarely answered reporters' questions. He kind of came in, said a few things, and was gone. Okay. When did this start with Joe's diminished mental capacity? Don't know, but the rumors were circulating fall of 2023. Now, came time to pick the candidate. Democratic National Committee decided we're going with our guy. They would have known what was going on. They would have been privy to the information from the inside circle. And that inside circle, by the way, would have included Kamala Harris. Okay, so this information was sorry, the stream keeps breaking up and I'm trying to pause it so that you guys can get back with me and not miss something. The primaries were held and Joe Biden was at least neck and neck with Trump until that debate where we saw that he's really struggling with his mental status. Okay, that he was really diminished. He, not doing well. Let's say it that way. And so now, like that didn't happen that night. Okay, so you lied, or at minimum, you did a lie of omission. You tried to cover this up and hide it from the American people. And then scrambling, there was this move to, well, we need a candidate. And they ordained or coronated Kamala Harris without having won a single primary. She was never voted on and approved by a single state, right? And there was a lot of people calling for emergency primaries to the DNC. They never responded to that. Joe Manchin had at one point been on CNN and said, if they're going to do primaries, I'll run. So now if you're a Democrat, you should be asking yourself, why did the party do me wrong? Okay, you can be mad at Trump because you don't like what Trump's doing. And you can be mad at Elon Musk because you don't like what Elon Musk's doing. But you really also should be asking, why did the party do us wrong? Because they're to blame. The Democratic National Committee gave you a candidate that had never been elected in a single primary by a single state after they had gaslit you about Joe Biden's mental status. And they had another candidate who was ready to say, Let's do emergency primaries. I'll run. Now, if Kamala was the right candidate, she should have easily beaten Joe Manchin in those emergency primary debates. And you got no problem. Now you got a viable candidate who has shown that she can defeat another viable candidate, and you do emergency primaries and then the states vote. And now you have a candidate that says, okay, this is our champion. Let's give it our best shot. They didn't do that. And if you're a Democrat, you really should be mad at that. You should be calling for action and new leadership in your Democratic National Committee. Now, again, you can still be mad at Trump and Elon Musk and want all those things to change. That's fine. But hold your party accountable because they did this. Okay. Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. Ding, ding, ding. You nailed it. You nailed it. That is exactly the biggest factor here. Now, there's other factors, and we're probably going to get to a couple of them, but that was the biggest factor. I know. I'm sorry about the freezing, guys. I'm doing my best. When I see it doing it, I'm trying to pause. All right. So Coffee says, everyone sees things based on their own experiences. Doesn't mean you are immoral or racist. It means you have a different perspective. Yeah. But nobody's stopping to listen to anybody else, right? So if you say that you are for improved borders and people to be legal if they're immigrating here, a lot of people are saying that that's racist. It's not. They're not the same thing. Are there some people who are saying that are racist? Yes. Is everybody who wants border control and border security racist? No. Like, why are we getting stuck on this extreme viewpoints? Again, it goes back to, I think the media is pushing some of this agenda. Yep. Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival with another home run there. The mainstream media blocks and shadow bans the truth out of existence. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, David Edwards. I mean, that's going to be part of this with the gold immigration card. And not to say that that's a perfect system either. It's definitely not. I don't think that it should only be accessible to people who are wealthy. I think a poor person who's living in cartel land wants to get their family to safety, and they're a law-abiding citizen, and they want to, be legally migrate and become a U.S. citizen. There should be a way for them to do that is within a reasonable budget. Right now, to become a legal citizen of the United States, it's not really within the reach of most people, and that's part of the reason why so many people are sneaking in. Again, we got, the metaphor that I've used in the past was, if I was a dad in Tijuana with cartel country or Juarez, and I had little kids, and I thought, I'm not raising my kids under these conditions. I want to get to the United States. I'll be honest with you. I would do everything I could to get to the United States. And if I couldn't afford it, I would still come to the United States. I would try to figure it out. It is what it is. Some people are genuinely trying to get away from really bad situations. We need to make it a legal and affordable way for those people who are law abiding and want to be on the books and want to pay taxes and be part of the system. We need to figure out a way to do that. That's the solution to all this. And for other people who are trying to get in because they want to deal drugs and traffic humans and other things like that, we need to be able to find those people and say, you're never getting in. You're just never getting in. You don't belong in the United States when you plan to come here and do crime. That's the thing. We got to be able to find out who is in that smaller group. And I do believe it's a smaller group, and make sure that they are being identified and blocked. Thanks, Hudson Valley. Appreciate that. I haven't done my dad jokes in a while. Been a lot going on too. I'm trying to keep up. I will get back to those dad jokes on Instagram. I enjoy doing those as well. Bacon, it's good to see you. How are you doing? Steal my neighbor's electricity. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that, Bacon. You're going to have to work that out with your neighbors, I think. Yes, I think that's it, Scott Hummer. I think that the people who are moderate independent voters who will sometimes swing to the Democrats and they'll sometimes swing to the GOP. I think they got tired of being labeled and vilified. And, you know, I think that this is what you're seeing now is a big pushback. Like, you know, figure it out, folks. Like, if you make people feel like a villain, that doesn't make them want to vote on your side. I saw somebody, it's like the thing we were talking about before, where they're trying to say like Democratic voters are more intelligent. That doesn't win people over to your party when you talk like that. That doesn't make people want to vote Democrat next time. In fact, you're probably pushing more people to vote the other way or to abstain from voting at all. I don't understand why people don't get that. Okay, yeah, I think that's true, Virginia Bushcrafter, that I think he was able to connect with people in a way that I'm rewording what you're saying, connect with people in a way that Kamala wasn't able to do so. Also, remember, Kamala refused to go on the most popular podcast in the world, Joe Rogan. And you can hate Joe Rogan podcast, that's fine. Sometimes he drives me nuts, but he is the most popular podcast in the world. And when you refuse, keeps dying on me. I am so sorry about the connection tonight, folks. I have no idea what's going on. Probably my computer needs to be restarted or whatever. But when you don't connect with a large audience like that, those people don't want to vote for you. And they did like exit polling on election day. And a lot of people they were interviewing were Gen Z males. And the answer was, I voted for Trump because he impressed me with what he said on Joe Rogan. So let's say that was only 2% of the vote. I actually think it was a lot more than that, but let's say it was only 2% of the vote. That's the difference in some areas. And especially in some swing states, that 2% matters. So choosing not to try to connect with this audience because you don't like Joe Rogan was a big mistake. She also refused to do video, unedited, unscripted interviews, right? That if you're not aware of that, you can go and look that up now. The big interview that she did for the mainstream media, they finally released the unedited version and after the election, and it's not a good interview, you know. So not one of her strongest points. Okay, maybe there's other things that she does well, but that certainly wasn't one of them, and that doesn't help. People are sick of career politicians. The current president, for sure, is no career politician. Yeah, I think he's kind of becoming that. And I think that there's like whether or not he is going to try to change things to run third term, which I don't think that's going to happen. But I think he's trying to groom people in his family to have this dynasty kind of thing. At least that's how it feels to me. So I don't know. I mean, I don't like the whole concept of American royalty anyways, whether it be the Kennedys or the Bushes or Trump or the Clintons or whatever. I prefer for people to kind of get in, do a few years worth of work and get out, but that doesn't seem to happen very often. Yep, you're right there, Virginia Bushcrafter. I agree. Yep, that's really well said, Don TV. Education teaches us specifics about certain topics. Intelligence is a much wider ability to understand everything in general. I think that's well said. And you don't have to have a college education to be a highly intelligent person. In fact, throughout history, there was a lot of school dropouts who had extremely high IQs, Thomas Edison being one of them. You know, sometimes these kids are too smart for school. Like they know more than the teachers. Teachers don't like to hear that, but sometimes that's true. Yeah. People, what do they say right there? On people who don't learn from their mistakes are going to keep repeating them over and over again. Right there. The people should have. All right. Sorry. There we go. That's what we were saying, man. They didn't do primaries. They should have. Yeah, when she Coffee First is right. When she ran, she was one of the first people out in 2020. In fact, Tulsi Gabbard smoked her 3 times in debates, like smoked her. She showed that she can't debate. Big Angry Phil for covering the answer to the question every single Tuesday in his words. This is why you lost. Yeah. And and again, I'm a moderate. I sometimes will vote for a Democrat if they're the right candidate. I'll sometimes vote for a conservative if they're the right candidate. There's no learning here. If you don't learn, you don't win over the moderates. You have to change the game from what you're currently doing because it's clearly not working. But they don't seem to want to get it. Yeah, there's a lot of people walking away from the Democratic Party. Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, Tulsi Gabbard. These were what we would call moderate independent Democrats. These were like your old Democrats, like trying to think of a good example. I'll think of somebody. But they're more moderate than progressive, right? So, and again, if the progressive party wants to have a party, that's fine, but I don't think you can play both sides here and say, well, we want to have the progressives and we want to have the moderate Democrats. It's not working for you. Hey, Silver Oceans, good to see you. How you doing? Anonymous Prepper, I'm doing great. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. All right, I'm going to scroll back down here because I want to get to a couple other things. 2020 is the one time yeah, I get it. Bacon, I feel that way sometimes too. We can't give up though. We can't give up. Oh, I hear what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Yeah, be authentic, right? Like, so whether or not they want to ban us on Instagram or they want to ban us on YouTube, be the person that you are. Be authentic. Yeah, and if you guys are enjoying this conversation, whether you disagree with me or not, that's fine. Give me a thumbs up. If you hate me, give me a thumbs down. Either way, I appreciate that you gave me a little bit of your time. If you're new to the channel and you do enjoy this, please consider subscribing. Mostly we talk about preparedness here. We are being a little bit political tonight, but mostly we talk about how this relates to prepping. Yeah, so all right, I'm just going to go ahead. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and skip down. Thank you for all the awesome conversation. Really good stuff in community chat tonight. Why do people become career politicians? Let's take a look at it. I have all kinds of data for you tonight. All right. So did you know that they get some really nice talked about? Let's talk about some of them. Sorry, it's freezing again. Including staff salaries. Okay, they need to have some staff. I get that. Travel, office costs, and in some cases, meals to official duties. Okay, so did you know that each time they go in, they're pretty much buying a desk, refurbishing the office? That's your money. Even though they're using essentially a brand new desk already. Did you know that? Okay, there's more. Oh, we're just scratching the surface, folks. There's more. The MRA varies by member, ranging from approximately 1.2 million to 1.8 million in recent years, depending on factors like district distance from Washington, D.C., but it is not explicitly earmarked for meals. Since 2023, a new reimbursement program has allowed House members to claim up to $79 per day for meals and incidentals while in Washington, D.C., or on official business. They're pretty much always on official business, whether they say they are or not. They're always going to say they are, as part of a broader cost of living adjustment. Yeah, they really needed that, because there's stock benefits that they get that we can't, things that if they do that if we did, we'd be in jail. Their lobbyist money that goes into their war fund, that's not enough. Plus their pretty decent sized salary, which we're going to get to. That's not enough. They need a meal allowance too. This is capped at a daily rate by the General Services Administration, which fluctuates seasonally, but $79 in recent months, higher in others. June, it was at $258 for combined lodging and meals. However, this reimbursement comes from the MRA, not a separate meal fund. And because basically the reason is I was looking for information about meal allotment. That's why it's worded that way. I will say a quarter of the House members opted out of this in 2023. Good on you. I don't know the names. I don't have that, but good on you if you did that. Unlike typical expense reimbursements in many jobs, this program controversially does not require receipts. All they have to do is say, I spent $79 on meals today. They don't need a receipt. They don't need a receipt. You got it? We clear? They can spend that money on gambling, prostitutes, drugs, alcohol, whatever. They don't need a receipt. Your money, by the way, your money. In the state and the Senate, there's no equivalent formalized reimbursement program for meals, but senators can use their office budgets, which is around, by the way, $3.3 million each, for official expenses, which may include meals if deemed necessary for their duties. Moving right along. Starting salary for senator is $174,000. They keep trying to raise this every few years, and it keeps, thankfully, getting voted down. $174,000 by today's money is not a ridiculous amount of money, but it's better than most Americans are doing. And don't forget, they really are off a lot of the year. Congress is not in session all the time. They'll say they're on duties, and some of them are, but not all. $74,000. That is not including, again, all the lobbyist donations that they're getting that goes to their war fund and all of their stock trading perks, which is really probably the biggest piece of this, is that if you work on, I got to be careful legally here. They are not subject to, and word this very, very carefully. They are not subject to the same rules that you and I are on their ability to buy and sell stocks based on information that they have. Okay, you follow? I can't say it differently or I'm going to get myself into some legal hot water here. Okay, you don't understand what that is? You can look it up. Look up Nancy Pelosi stock trading portfolio. Check it out. All right, data from 2023 shows that over 300 House members expense nearly $6 million for lodging and meals provided under the new program, with top spenders being Republican from Michigan, Representative Jack Bergman. Jack Bergman, wow, way to use the taxpayer dollars. Great job. Claiming nearly $12,000 for meals alone. Dude spent $12,000 on meals. Must be eating best steak in the house every night, buddy. Good for you. Good for you. You angry yet? Because you should be. This suggests that while the meal budget, blah, 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 skipping ahead. Okay, we don't need all that. All right. Pension plans. Okay, you're going to love this one. Members of Congress who serve at least 5 years are eligible for a lifetime pension that can be significantly more lucrative than those available for those who work in private sector jobs. Okay, so most private sector jobs don't even have a pension anymore. It's a thing that's becoming more and more rare. But generally speaking, if they do, you usually have to work 20 or 25 years to get a lifetime pension. No, 5 for members of Congress. 5. Guess who's paying for that, folks? You are. All right. Let's keep going. Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, Susan Collins. Who else is in there? Go ahead and name them in chat. Let's out these people that have been in there since the dinosaurs walked the planet. Subsidized health plan, as mentioned earlier, they have a fantastic health plan, and even after leaving office, they can retain access to their health insurance, paid for by you, by the way, through the Federal Employees Health Benefits Program, which taxpayers covering the largest portion, 72% of the premiums. This perk continues for life, unlike in the private sector, where if you leave your job or you're fired from your job, you do not get to keep your health plan unless you pay for it, which is very, very expensive, and nobody's subsidizing that for you, are they? All right, let's keep going. Travel and office allowances. We kind of covered that. We'll skip that one. Exclusive access and amenities. Members enjoy privileges like reserved parking spaces at the Capitol, access to members-only dining rooms, subsidized on-site gym, costing about $25 per month, so they do have to pay a little bit for that, complete with amenities like a pool, sauna, and paddleball courts. Okay, so years ago, I'm talking like 2003. Okay, so 20-ish years ago, I belonged to one of these really fancy health fitness centers with the pool, the sauna, basketball courts. And years ago, that cost me out of pocket, I think it was $75 and my wife $75, so $150 per month. This was a very fancy one. Now that would cost you a lot more than that because that was 20 years ago. No, $25 for them because obviously they can't afford it. There's an on-site barber and salon. They get all their hair and makeup covered if they choose to take advantage of those. Pretty nice lifestyle, isn't it? All right. Upon death, a member of Congress dies in office. Their family receives a full year's salary as a death gratuity. This is a generous payout compared to standard government employees and is funded by the taxpayers, regardless of the legislator's financial status. So even if they were a multi-billionaire, even if they were super rich like Nancy Pelosi, if something happens to her, her husband gets $174,000. No questions asked. Now, I carry life insurance. Maybe you carry life insurance. Is that a perk of your job? Maybe, but for most of us, we're paying for it. Special license plates. And we're not done, folks. Special license plates and airport privileges. Some states offer retired legislators special license plates, which can signal status and occasionally help past typical security hassles. Straight to the top of the line for the elite. Post office perks. Former members retain lifetime access to the House and Senate floors, unless they become lobbyists, in which case restrictions apply, as well as the ability to use Capitol parking and dining facilities. For ex-speakers, there's an additional perk, up to $1 million per year for 5 years to wind down their affairs. To wind down. A little-known provision buried in the law. They don't even tell you about that, do they? You mad yet? Influence beyond legislation. While not a tangible perk like a salary, the ability to shape policy or secure government contracts can directly benefit lawmakers or their families. This is the nepotism that we were talking about in one of the streams just a few weeks ago, right? This is what I was talking about when you are a president or a Congress member, and then you create the task force to ensure that the lines on the highway are painted the certain shade of white, and you assign your nephew or niece for that to be the director of that task force for a very high salary. And guess who's paying for that? You are. Now, DOGE is cutting in and finding all that stuff and trying to eliminate it. That stuff. All right. I'm going to read this the way it was written by AI. Some have been known to hold investments or family ties in industries that they regulate. A practice that's legal under current ethics rules, unless they're the sole beneficiary, an advantage most citizens don't have. There are ways around that if you create corporations or nonprofits or LLCs in a different name, things like that. The legality of that stuff is all very, very questionable, but I'm sure that it's happening. These perks often stem from a system where Congress sets its own rules. Imagine being able to, you're not your own boss, because that's a different thing if you own your own business, but you go into wherever it is that you work and you're setting your own rules. Imagine that, leading to benefits that can seem out of touch with the average worker's experience. Oh, it's out of touch. Oh, it's out of touch. All right. Public awareness tends to focus on their salaries, the $174,000 that we were talking about. However, that's like the least of the perks of the job. These additional advantages, many of which persist after leaving office, paint a fuller picture of the compensation package. The lack of transparency around these benefits, like the specifics of allowance spending or pension calculations, keep them visible and less scrutinized by watchdog groups or the media. Well, guess what, folks? Everyone who's here tonight watching on Instagram or YouTube, you are now part of the watchdog group. So, and we didn't even get into, like, you know, if these guys, if these people, it keeps freezing, sorry. If they want to go to the best steakhouse in the city and they don't have reservations, they're going to get a seat. If they want to go to the best theater show, they're going to get a backstage pass. There's intangible perks in this that aren't even mentioned that happens when you are basically an elite. Okay. So why do people want to do this job for so long? There's your answer. So we need to cut some of these perks if we want people to, you know, go in with service minded orientation, right? Service minded thought process, right? That they're going in to do the right thing to help America, to help the United States of America, that they're going to doing it because of integrity and compassion, two traits that I look for. And don't get me wrong, there are a few legislators out there who I do think, you know, refuse most of this stuff. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people in my community don't like AOC. From what I understand, she refuses most of these perks. Tulsi Gabbard, when she was in there, and that's why I've told you guys that's why I campaigned for Tulsi. From my understanding, she refused most of these perks and was very careful about not using her knowledge to exploit situations in the market. If you follow, okay. So there are some who are approaching this with ethics, but I would say the vast majority, it's questionable in my mind. So let's circle back to Doge now. Okay. And I see you guys have tons of comments. I am going to go back through and try to hit as many of those as I can. So let's circle back to Doge. I gave you my thoughts on this last week. I think that Elon Musk and Doge are using a chainsaw when they should be using a scalpel. I told you how it's done in the private industry, where first you go in and you do an audit and you see where the waste and fraud is, and you cut specifically those areas. You don't just like hack and slash and take out good people that are doing good jobs. Veterans Administration is now standing to lose a lot of employees. This will hurt veterans. Make no mistake, this will hurt veterans. Something that's very passionate to me. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know how strongly I feel about this. So we're going in there and we're going to hack and slash services to our disabled veterans, and nobody's touching this. Nobody's touching the congressional waste. Okay? You understand? You see where I'm getting a little fired up about this, why this is a problem for me? So I have no problem with Doge and Elon Musk finding the waste and fraud and getting rid of it, drain the swamp. The approach that's happening, in my opinion, is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. And you can disagree with me, as always. I welcome that. But tell me why you think I'm wrong and why you're right. Right? To give me, explain it, use your intelligence, use your thinky thing. Okay. I've given you my reason. All right, so I know there's a lot of chat here. I'm probably not gonna be able to get all of it. I'm gonna catch as much of it as I can. Okay. All right, scrolling. Pathways to citizenship. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. Figuring out legal, affordable, reasonable pathways to citizenship for good people who want to come to our country and be part of the United States. I'm all for it. Yeah, and I get that about not we can't just open the doors to everybody in the world. I get that. Um I gotta believe there's a better way than what we're doing it right now, though. Okay, scrolling a little bit. Yep, career politicians. Yep. Folks, if you enjoyed this conversation, give me a thumbs up. If you hate me, give me a thumbs down. Either way, I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Give me a little bit of your time. I respect that and I appreciate that. Even if you dislike what I'm saying, it does mean a lot to me that you shared a little bit of your time with me. Orlando Prepper, it's good to see you. How you doing tonight? I hope you're having a good Friday so far. Scrolling down. Sarge showed up with notes. I do my homework, folks. So each time we go live with a topic, I do spend several days during the week researching it because I want to, if I'm going to give you my opinion, which I do, I want to be able to back it up with facts. I want to be able to know what I'm talking about. If I can't, and there's been times where I had a topic and I had to abandon it because I'm like, this is bigger than me, or I can't explain it in a way that's going to be helpful for my audience. So I've abandoned topics, but I do, folks. I really make sure that before I come to you with a live topic, I try to make sure that I've done. I think I answered that question for you, Unc, right? Like, why are people choosing to be a career politician when they could go make $300,000 somewhere else? Because the perks are pretty darn good. Is it StreamYard? I see several people saying that StreamYard, and that might be the case because I actually have another device going that's not staggering like this. So it could be StreamYard. They did some updates. They're adding some new features. So that's happened before. Yeah, next time. All right. So until they fix that, I mean, I'll continue to play around with it because I do like StreamYard, but if it continues, I will definitely consider going straight to YouTube. And I don't have the paid version. I will at some point. Still trying to justify that in terms of like the income that I bring in on the channel. Again, I got to make it make sense. I'm doing my taxes right now, and I brought in some money last year, but I also spent a lot of money last year. So I gotta make it make sense. I gotta be a little bit more wise about that. Yeah, so it does depend. That $79 does depend on where you are. I could eat for several days on $79 here in South Carolina. I believe you that in like LA, New York, and Washington, D.C., it probably is a lot more expensive. But the point is, they don't have to show receipts, and that's not okay. That's not okay. Americans that are paying for this should be able to have some kind of accountability. All right, rolling down. Gus Wolf, thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good night. We're getting Chuck Schumer. There's another lifer. Old Chuck, he ain't leaving. Chuck ain't leaving. He's got it good. He knows that. Thank you. That was another good one. Yeah, old Chuck ain't going anywhere. Bernie ain't going anywhere. Bernie's got it good, and he knows that. Let me know. Yeah, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and put it in, Bacon. I don't know what she said. Oh yeah, yeah. Coffee first. She said some. She said some. She's not a good speaker. Maybe she's a good person. I don't know her, but she's not a good speaker. All right. Thank you for. I see a couple people had to go. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, we're wrapping up, getting near the end, rolling down the bottom. How does evil defend against getting its life source cut? Putting the vestiges of good it does in the way of the scissors. See the news and what they cover. Hard to explain one comment. I think I follow. Perp yoga uncle, and yeah, we need to. If I'm talking about it with a coworker, and they're like, "Well, man, doesn't that piss you off?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, it's not good, but I'm focused on bigger issues. I've told you guys before the election, I want us out of this war, this proxy war. I want that war to end. That was a big one for me. Fixing the economy, because human beings suffer when the economy sucks. And guess what? It still sucks. We're not out of this yet." Scrolling. Meals for Wheels still exists. Yeah. Version is going to double this year. Oh man. Roaming Prepper just said, thank you for joining me, by the way, Roaming Prepper. The StreamYard's going to double this year. That's hard for me to justify. I might have, I mean, if that's, I'll either continue to go with the free one or I'll use the YouTube features. All right, Dawn, thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, let's go ahead and start to put a bow on this one. So if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and let me know down in the comments down below. Let me know how you feel about some of this stuff, right? Like, is this okay? Or should Doge and Elon Musk be looking at this, right? What do you guys think on Instagram? Do you think that's okay to use the taxpayers' money like that? Why is that not being looked at? That should have been first thing. We'll look at the congressional waste. That's my opinion anyways. Let's finish this out with talking about prepping. And let me check the poll. Hang on. Okay, so where's my poll? What happened to it? Did I lose my poll? Where is it? There we go. Okay, so 88% of you would like to see Doge dig into congressional waste. Okay, so the 12% of you who said no, I would love to hear why you don't think that that's important. If you can share that with me, I'll respect your opinion on that. All right, let's finish this up. So again, talking about prepping. What's going on with the country? We're in a state of massive change, like so fast that it is really hard to keep up with. Really hard. Like, this is why, doing my work for stuff like tonight's stream, this is why I'm not giving you the jokes on Instagram like I used to, is because like I am using all of my time trying to stay on top of what's happening. I will tell you that I see stuff on Reddit and I see stuff on Twitter, and I see I'm not on TikTok, but sometimes people share their TikTok stuff on Twitter, and I see stuff on TikTok that makes me very concerned that we are building up towards another point of unrest that is probably going to be similar to. All right, so you need to be thinking about things like, how can I safely get in and out of work when there's civil unrest in my area? Who can I count on in my neighborhood to help us defend if there's violence going on targeting our neighborhood, right? What if I have to get out of my area? I need to have a plan, right? Your bug out bag, a lot of people think of your bug out bag as, what would I do if I had to go hide in the woods like Red Dawn? Maybe you should be thinking about it a little bit differently. What if your bug out bag should be something like, what if I have to get out of my city and go stay with my aunt in Philadelphia? Well, don't go to Philadelphia because they might be having civil unrest too. Out in the countryside where they're far away from all this stuff for a few weeks, right? So think of it as like a vacation bag, maybe. Now you can include some of those other things like survival things. It's not bad to travel with those, of course, but do you have a bag packed and ready to go if you have to get out of your area? I don't know what's going to happen, but I am seeing a lot of chatter that has me concerned. Okay, so think about this. Start working with your families to make your plans now. Work with your neighbors to make your plans now if you have to shelter in place or get out of Dodge. Okay. And thank you for all the comments on my video this week about the what would you do if there was a bio attack. I hope some of you, I would love to see some video responses. If some of you are doing that, tag me in it so I can find it. And I want to say one more time to finish this out. I appreciate you. Really appreciate y'all. I know you could be doing a lot of things on Friday night, but some of you come and you share your Friday night with me, and it means the world to me. I look forward to this every night. We have a wonderful community, and I always enjoy reading your side chat as well. Okay, you all have a great weekend. Please get outside if it's good weather. Take care of your family, and most importantly, take care of yourself and your mental health. Okay, keep planting your seeds. Oh, don't forget about Bacon's stream. Almost forgot. Check out Bacon's stream later on tonight. Always a good time. You guys will enjoy that. Bring yourself a beverage. Bring a sense of humor. You'll have fun. Okay. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge. Have a good night, everybody.